everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Louisiana Children's Museum in Dialogue series. This is a series that we're putting on once a month to talk about tough topics that are tailored to the expressed needs of parents and families in our community. We have our special guest, Dr. Davie Miron-Murphy, back because she's an expert in so many things. And so we invited her back today to talk about transitions. This recording will be on our website so that you can watch it later. And we are going to continue to have our sessions recorded so that they're a resource for you when you want to look at them at home. And if you're joining us on Zoom, welcome. Today, our In Dialogue director, Holly Delferez, will be monitoring Zoom. So if you have any questions, you can put them into chat and we'll get to them. All right, well, thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me.
We love having you. We love hearing about this. So this topic came in and it was very broad. So you and I talked about transitions and it can mean so many things. And so I know there are transitions of, like we just heard a baby crying. Leaving the museum is a hard transition, right? So we had a baby cry on cue for that. But we just want to talk about transitions in general, and then maybe some small ones that parents need some help with, and then some big ones that they need help with too. So thanks for being here. Let's talk in general about transitions.
Yeah, this is the perfect time of year to talk about transitions because there are so many happening. I know a lot of parents are trying to, maybe put together childcare before school starts, at the end of summer camp, and lots of different things happening. So this is the great time to talk about it. So in general, there are some things to think about regarding transitions. So for the most part, we do want to try to prepare kids for transitions. So a lot of parents avoid that, especially if it's a hard transition that they're anticipating or something that they're having trouble with. So for example,
like put it off?
Yeah, kind of put it off. Don't tell the child that they're going to be doing something different until the day of, or maybe right before, the night before. So for example, starting school, that might be, a difficult thing for parents sometimes when their younger kids are starting school. And so they may put it off. But it is really important to let kids know that big changes are coming. And so, but there's a balance. You don't want to do it too soon. That's going to just increase anxiety for no reason. And not too late so that they don't feel like prepared. So just, your child best. So just kind of play around with when, the timing of letting your kids know. And that will change over the course of development. So younger kids may not need as much notice. Older kids may need more notice because they kind of understand more and they want to ask more questions before a big change. Mm-hmm. So that's one general thing. And then what to tell a child. So what to tell them about why, really thinking about like the rationale for a change. So for example, if the family's moving, really thinking about, how to explain that to the child in a developmentally appropriate way with information that, they can understand and then allowing them to ask questions if needed. And then really thinking about, who all is impacted by a change. So it may be like the whole family, it may just be one child, it may be a child and a parent, and trying to tailor explanations to everybody in the family. So those are some general things that we can think about. And then always checking in after a transition has happened. So like when the child starts school, for example, as they're settling into their new classroom, phew, that's done. We've started school, that's good. But then we want to check in. How's it going? How are you feeling at school? The length of a transition can really vary based on what it is. So it could be, a couple of weeks or maybe months before the child really feels comfortable in a new setting, for example.
I have to interrupt you because my son's grown now. And the first day of kindergarten, he was fine. He was just like, oh, let's go, let's do it. Went in, I checked on him that afternoon when I picked him up from school. How are you? What, did you enjoy it? Yeah, I enjoyed it. The next morning when he realized he had to do it again, he was mortified. He thought it was a one-day thing. Yeah. And so I didn't prepare him for that. I was like, no, we're going to keep going to school. Yeah. And he was just like, what? So that you just reminded me of that. Like you do have to check in afterwards. And I could have set it up a lot better than you were going to kindergarten for one day.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right. So what is the child's understanding of school? Do they understand like it's Monday through Friday? Even little kids can start to understand calendars, so you can kind of draw it out. What days, how many days are there in a week, and then the weekends you're at home. So school would be one color and home would be a different color. And so there, 3 more bedtimes until you start school, things like that. as a way to explain that to little kids. But yeah, checking in afterwards and seeing how that they're feeling about it, about going back, is important. Because kids may have one reaction at first, and then over time, that may change.
And we had a kindergarten kickoff event here Friday. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. And some of the things that we heard, we're trying to prep the children, but we knew, because we have a kindergarten teacher expert, her name's Carolyn Bilsma, shout out to Carolyn, who really was able to allay some of the anxieties of the parents too, because their babies are going to big school. And so can you talk about that a little bit, just talking to the parents about calming down?
Yes. Well, believe it or not, kids can pick up on our anxiety. So if we're feeling nervous as parents about a big transition, like going to school, the kids are going to pick that up. And even if you do your best to try to hide it and put a smile on your face and say everything's okay, they may be sensing that we're nervous about it. So that sends a message like, okay, is there something I should be nervous about? And then they may pick up on that and cling to us more, or say they don't want to go to school. So while we're on the topic of schools, we can just kind of talk more about that. But yeah, I mean, it's important for parents to just really talk about how they're feeling as well. Talk about it with other friends, other parents, your own family members, so that you can get help with your feelings about it, so that your child doesn't have to kind of have that burden too. Like, they have their own feelings. It's hard for them to have to cope with your feelings and their own feelings about it. But so for younger kids, infants, for example, they under 6 months, they pretty much can go to daycare without much protest, because they really, at that age, as young infants, they really don't mind different people taking care of them, and so they're okay with those transitions. As they get to be older, approaching 1 year, they may have a lot of protests, because they're really forming those attachment relationships with parents or people who've been taking care of them for all day, every day, and then to change into a childcare setting, that may be a lot for them. So their whole world is changing. But we can prepare them too. We can talk to infants similar to the way we would talk to toddlers. They will not understand every word we're saying, but it's kind of the tone. It's kind of this idea of like, first you're going to wake up, we're going to get dressed, and we're going to have a bottle, and then I'm going to pack your bag, and we're going to go to the center, and we're going to see Miss So-and-so, and sort of like maybe having pictures of their new teachers, or having them visit the school before we start. That's a thing for any age. I think it's important. And then getting into older kids, where they can handle a little more information, helping them know what to expect at school. So you're going to go, and you're going to have a little playtime. You're going to meet some new friends. You're going to go outside. You're going to have lunch, take a nap, and then I'm going to pick you up and come home. Help them know, like, this is the way it's going to be every day, and that can add to their sense of security and predictability that, this is an okay change that's happening, and there's some good things that can happen.
We have a high schooler in our family, and I talked to this person yesterday, and so very blessed that they could go into the school and check it out ahead of time, because they have anxiety. And so it was just like, that's not just for the little ones. The older ones need to, go ride around the neighborhood, go in the school, meet some people, just so that they feel comfortable as well.
Yes.
I mean, we all do.
We all do, right. And that's something, that we can hold in mind, that adults have, difficulty with their own transitions. When we change jobs, when we move, packing up, moving is one of the most stressful experiences that we can have, packing up all our things and moving to a new location. And so kids experience that in the same way.
And it's really hard for a parent or caregiver to hide the moving anxiety and stress, right? As best we can, but it's just everywhere. It's in everything that we do. Like, we have somebody who left here and going through just a lot of stress of moving to a new city, a new town, a new job, and the kids are definitely going to feel that.
Yeah. Other thing I wanted to say about older kids in school, transitioning. So it's summertime. The rules may be relaxed, bedtime may be relaxed, but as school approaches, we want to kind of start to get back in that school routine as much as we can, because kids are going to need to get up early and get to school. Even having them do like a little schoolwork. Some schools have summer work that they assign, some schools don't. But you can even, just have them check out a library book and read that a few, for 30 minutes a day leading up to school, so that they kind of get back into that mode of like learning and getting ready to go back to school. And again, calendars really, really help with counting down the days, even for older kids.
And alluding back to your previous session on screen time, starting to get back into the regular school time, screen time schedule.
Yeah, I had to remind my 8-year-old that, once school starts, we don't do any screen time during the week, because he's got plenty to do with homework and other activities. So that's going to be a big change for him. And so I wanted to remind him that would be happening. And so that's important.
Good to prep for that, because that's not easy. Okay, so we have bigger ones than that. We have the big transitions of like a divorce in the family, or separation in the family, or a new baby. So can we talk about those a little bit?
Yes. So, some transitions we would consider positive and some we would consider negative. Most have some aspects of both, like good things about them, bad things. So, with divorce, obviously that can be a really difficult situation for a family, especially for young kids who just really don't understand, the nature of relationships yet. And so we want to try to talk to them as much as possible. But I would say once it's kind of final, there's a final decision that two parents have made to separate or divorce. Think of a way to, ideally talk to them together about it in a, coherent way, so that they see that mom and dad are still on the same page with regard to parenting. But, saying something like, mom and dad really love you, and they, care about each other, but decided that they're not going to live in the same house together. So, mommy's going to live here, daddy's going to live in a different place, and you'll see both of us, and we both really love you. This is not because of anything that you did. This is just something between mommy and daddy. It's grown up things. For example, so that could be for maybe like a 5-year-old who might have the ability to understand that. For little kids, they probably can adjust even a little bit easier because they don't really know, any different. So when this happens, it's not like you don't want to explain it to them. We want to explain it to them like as much as we can. But they'll learn by doing. So they'll learn by seeing mommy's new house, seeing daddy's new house, understanding like the visits. And it's really important to try to get an expert to help with custody arrangements, especially for little kids, because young kids need to have a lot of contact with their other parent that they're not living with to maintain that relationship. So under 5, I would say, they need to have if possible, shorter times away from the other parent. Whereas older kids, especially when they get to school, they may be able to, hold the other parent in mind, when they're not living with them, or they may be able to have phone calls and things like that. Or if they ask about the other parent, they can call them. So it's important to really think about the developmental needs of the children when we're thinking about divorce.
Mm-hmm. Tough stuff. And what about a new baby in the family?
A new baby, yes, a new addition to the family. So it could
Yes,
be a new pet, but it could be a new baby, or it could be a new foster child. It could, some families,
True.
grow in different ways.
Or a grandparent or something. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, so we want to. This is really an individualized decision, I think, in parents and families. Some families, for example, if it's a new birth child, want the sibling to be involved from the beginning. Like, as soon as they know, they're telling the child, and that's that's a choice that they make. So that if there are highs and lows within the pregnancy, they may kind of know all about that. Some decide to let them know when the birth mom starts showing. So maybe kind of timing that news with the physical changes that a parent may be going through. And it's really important to let the other children know how much you value the relationship, how much you love them, and how much you always love them and they'll always be special to you. And we're going to have a new baby. And just talking about what that's going to be like. And so now you're going to learn to share with the new baby. You're going to have your space, and the baby will have their space. But there will be times where you will need to share, and you'll need to share mommy and daddy. So thinking about that and kind of touching on that here and there. So it's usually not going to be like one long couple-hour conversation with a little kid, but like here and there, wherever you can. Like, for example, when I had my younger children, my older child and I were going into a restaurant and said, okay, we need a table for 3, mommy, daddy, and my child. And then he said, well, when the twins come, we'll need a table for 5, And so that was the way he was making sense of the fact that our family was going to change. We were going to have 2 new little babies. So it'll come in different moments, and just look for those opportunities.
You got not just one new baby,
Right.
but two new
Right.
babies. Wow, wow. How old are your twins now?
So now they just turned 4 in July. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So some exciting things that can come into your family, but these are big. These are starting school, moving, separations.
And we didn't talk about moving much. Do you want me
Oh,
to go
yes.
back over
Let's
there?
talk about moving.
Yeah.
Because
So-
that's like you said, one of the biggest stressors of your lifetime.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if it's within town, a few blocks away, you have to pack up all your stuff and go. So with moving, so for little kids, again, we want to help them understand the reason. So why are we moving? So mommy got a new job in this other city called whatever it is. And so we will be leaving New Orleans and going to another city. This is coming up because we have some family friends who are going through this now. And what they've done is really nice, that they've had a lot of opportunities throughout the summer to have like little play dates and parties, and make sure that the child has a birthday party before they leave, because the birthday is after they leave. But really give the child an opportunity to say goodbye to family and friends that are that they've always known for their whole childhood. But explain to them why, help them get involved, and this is for any transition. Involve them in the planning as much as possible. So, if they can pick out the paint color for their room, or they can pick out which toys to take to the new house and which ones to leave, help them pack. Help them be a part of it. That will help add to their sense of control. Because a lot of issues come up when kids feel like they're out of control. Like the change is not something that they decided. So they feel out of control about it, and so they let us know that they're having a lot of feelings about it through their behavior. And that's where we see tantrums. Yeah. So we want to help them, give them a sense of control by explaining it to them and then involving them in whatever task they can. And then, of course, having those goodbyes and showing them pictures of the new house. Where is it going to be? What's it near? If you can't visit it, if it's out of the city, then showing lots of pictures. If it's in town, going by the house as much as possible. If it's a new construction, having them be part of the construction process, visit it in the different stages of construction.
I love that advice to have them pick out the paint and know more about the house, because it's so many times that you just want them to be happy and you don't want to stress them out, so you don't want to talk about the move too much, but bring them into that conversation. Yeah, I really like that, and I don't think I've done that very well either.
It's just something we don't really naturally think about.
Yeah. It's always like, oh, let me deal with everything.
Yeah.
But I also think it's a great idea if you can, go to the neighborhood and see what the local park is, or, oh, this is the restaurant that we might go to. Like, that would be some good ideas to ease into it.
Yeah, and so they can get a concrete, visual in their minds about what it's going to be like. Yeah.
And now you can do that with, Google Maps.
Yeah.
And they can look at their house if they can't
Exactly.
visit it. Okay, that's a big one. So let's just talk about some minor ones that we have here. Leaving the house in the morning.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. That's it. I said it's minor, but sometimes that can be major.
It can be. Yeah, so these daily routine transitions are big too. So yes, so we have so many transitions throughout the day, right? So getting ready to leave the house in the morning is a huge one, and that can be really stressful for families. It's stressful in my house, especially if you have people that need to get to different places and at different times, but everyone has to be ready at a certain time. So again, trying to do a lot the night before if possible. So prepare, let them know what to expect. We're waking up at this time. We're going to have breakfast. You need to get dressed right away, brush your teeth, wash your face, whatever they need to do. Get your shoes on and go. And they may, like my kids would say, well, can we watch TV? Mm-hmm. No, we're going to have to hurry and get ready and go. So prepare ahead of time. Let them know what's going to happen. If possible, have everything laid out for them the night before. Help them, let them do it. Let them take some control of that as well.
At what age can we let them do it?
3.
Okay.
Let them help, even 2 maybe. At least just start introducing that idea of okay, I want you to help me pack your bag for tomorrow. So what do we need? We need your nap mat, your pillow, your stuffy. And that brings up another tip is the transition objects. So little kids love these transition objects, stuffies, loveys, whatever you might call them, but even a backpack with their things is a transition object. And so some kids will just hold on to that backpack the whole day because it's their transition object. If I have this, then I'm okay. If it's with me, that means, I'm safe. And and I'm okay. So the backpack goes with the kid, the backpack comes home with the kid, and so that's a way to signal the transition, for example. But levies and parents will want to ask the schools what the rules are about toys and things like that. But some kids will pick their own transition objects, like like a book or a toy. My kids picked my sunglasses, and so they would take my sunglasses, like these old. I gave them an old pair of sunglasses because they, just wanted a piece of me, a little piece of mommy to go with them and come back. So so that can be really helpful. But there's going to be a fuss, that's never goes smoothly every day. So just, be prepared. Try to build in lots of extra time before you have to leave, so that you can just anticipate those issues coming up, the last minute, bathroom needs and things like that before you have to get out the door.
And as best as you can, try not to lose your cool.
Yes.
Because there are people that I know that will come here and say, I yelled at my kid this morning. Look at how I set his day off this morning, and it's hard. So any tips for calming ourselves down when everybody's going in 5 different directions?
Thank you for asking. I mean, we all yell sometimes, and it can be scary for kids if they don't hear that very often, especially even if they do. But so taking a break. It's best to just walk away from the situation. Don't get into a power struggle. You may have some pretty strong-willed kids out there who, want to do it their way, and they're learning independence as young kids, and they want to do it their way. And so, as much choice as they can have, that would be helpful. But when it gets to that point, just take a break, step away, say, mommy needs to cool down for a minute. I'm going to go in the other room. I'll come back. Let them know you're coming back. So because you don't want to just walk away, because it sends the message that, like, your feelings are too big for me. I can't handle this. I have to leave. Wow. But if you let them know, I just need to cool down. My feelings are too big for me. I need a break, but I'll be back. That can be really helpful. And then let them try to talk about it. Maybe when things have calmed down, talk about what happened. I got really upset because you didn't do X, Y, Z when I asked you to. And then the child can reflect on that as well, as much as possible.
Yeah, and I love that advice, and I love, if you do it, don't be too hard on yourself. Try better the next morning. Do Dr. Murphy's advice the next morning. Yes. Coming home and dinner time, like these are also things that are just, I was here, now I'm here, and I have to do all of these things.
Right, especially if they're leaving somewhere fun, like the Children's Museum.
Probably going to get
or
some.
School, or school. Some kids don't want to leave school. They love school. Their friends are there, especially only children who don't have siblings. That's where they get to play with their friends, and so it's hard to leave school. So letting them know, you understand that feeling. So when you're picking them up and they don't want to go and they're, protesting, or I want to show you this, I want to show you that, or they're actually like rolling around crying on the ground, just, empathize. I know it's really hard to leave. You had a good day, you had fun with your friends. You'll be back tomorrow. It's time to go home now. Just let them know that you understand how they're feeling. And then, again, usually we can address it in a couple of minutes. But if not, you may just have to pick them up and take them to the car and go. Coming back into the house, okay, remember, establish that routine again. Unpack your things. Put your lunchbox in the kitchen. Put your, dirty nap mat, whatever, in the laundry room. Take your socks and shoes off. Wash your hands. And then we're going to relax. Like, try to do that every time, so that they know what to expect.
Mm-hmm. And this might be personal experience. Model good behavior. If you want your kids to put their stuff away, then you need to put your stuff away.
Yes. Modeling is the most powerful parenting tool out there.
Bath time and bedtime.
Yes, bath time and bedtime. Yeah, especially for the younger ones, but even older kids, school age, 6 to 10 years old, they don't really love taking baths. So, explain to them it's time to take a bath. We're gonna, timers help. So you asked me about this in another talk. Counting down, or even for little kids, they can learn, like on your iPhone timer has like a circle that disappears when the time goes away, so that you can show them that, and that's a visual cue about how much time they have left. Turning the lights down at home, like letting them know it's almost time for bed, like turning the lights down, turning the TV off, turning like maybe some soft music, whatever you might do to just signal it's almost time for bed, it's time for bath, read a book, go to bed. And then again, try to involve them as much as you can. Which bath toy do you want tonight? Do you want to take a bath or a shower if they have a choice? Things like that. And just letting them know that this is what we need to do. We need to stay clean, and always those bigger kind of explanation and rationales are important to pair with the little directions.
My situation was I couldn't get them in, but then I couldn't get them out.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
once they're in, they're
Yeah.
having so much fun. You're like, okay, you got to do all of the transitioning talk all over again. It's time to go to bed. Yeah. Yes. I think that's, anything else? We have dinner time, but we kind of said getting ready for dinner. Is there anything?
Yeah. Well, sometimes that's just keep in mind that's the end of the day. So kids have been, and I hear this a lot, and I've experienced this too, that kids can be very well behaved at school. When they come home, that's where they, let it all out, and the parents get the most of their emotions. So they may be very stressed. They may have been sitting still all day. They don't want to sit still for dinner too. Mm-hmm. So just remembering that, but letting them know that this is what we do. Like, be really careful about starting a tradition or a rule that you don't want to maintain. So, for example, okay, you can eat on the couch today, but if you don't want to keep that up, if you want to have dinner time at the table most days, don't start something you don't want to keep up. But just acknowledging, it's been a long day for everybody. This is our family time, though, so we're going to have dinner together at the table. When you're done eating, you can go relax. And then bedtime, that's another one. That's some kids, have a lot, especially the 3 toddler age kids can get really stressed at bedtime because they're starting to have those nighttime fears, which are typical, normal, some scary dreams here and there. Mm-hmm. And those are just their anxieties sort of manifesting. And so their anxieties about change. So if they're starting a new school, they may have some bad dreams about, what does this mean? I'm not with mommy most days, or most of the day. So they may protest bedtime more. So delaying, asking for more books and wanting to play longer. But again, letting them know you're safe, everything's okay, I'm right down the hall. You're going to go to bed, sweet dreams or whatever. Do you want your nightlight on? Do you not want it on? Again, giving them some choices when possible. And there was one other thing I was going to say about that.
Does it have anything to do with your own, relaxing at bedtime? I feel like when you finally put them to bed, you're like, okay, now I can do all of these things. But then you can't get to bed because you're stressed yourself out. So I don't know if that was it. That's
no, but that's so important. I know. For those parents with young children, you really can't start relaxing until they've gone to bed.
Right.
And then you probably have dishes to do and laundry to do, and then you can't relax. So, yeah, I think sleep hygiene is so important. That can be another topic for another day.
Right.
But so important to really build in routines for relaxing and unwinding at the end of the day. And I'll even tell my children, I have a lot to do after you go to bed, so I need to get to that so I can go to bed. Right. I would really like to go to bed,
right.
Actually. Yeah.
I think you just brought me back to that time where I would fall asleep with him, reading a story to him, and then 2 hours later be like, oh, I have to do the dishes, and so I'm not getting the sleep that I need. But I do miss those days, and they do go by fast, so hold on. Holly, do you have any questions?
I do. So you talked, since we're talking about parents a little bit right now, you talked about how children transition to school. Can you talk a little bit about transitions for parents in that same situation? Like my first baby is going to school. How do I handle that? Or my last baby is going to school. How do I handle that?
Oh, yes. Very, very important. So what does it mean about you as a parent? What does it mean about, your relationship with your child, that your child is going to school? It means they're gaining independence. It means that they're, maybe they don't need you quite as much as they did when they were infants. And, that's okay. That's what life is about. We are trying to set up our children to have successful lives. And so these changes they can be seen as good changes, but they can be hard on parents. And so just, again, recognizing your own feelings about the change, processing that with another adult, and then recognizing what your behavior is sending a message about to your child. So, for example, some schools allow the parent to come into the classroom and sit for a little while before they leave. So that can be okay. That can be a good thing for some kids to have their parents there for a few minutes so that they can see, like, okay, this is, you approve, Mom? Okay, I can stay here, and then the parent can leave. But again, be careful what you're setting up, what routine you're setting up, so you don't, if you have somewhere to be, you may not be able to do that every day. And so what's going to happen when you can't? So you may want to let your child know, for this first day, I'm going to sit here, or for the first week, I'm going to be able to sit here with you for a few minutes, and then I'm going to go to work or whatever it is. But we want to send the message to kids that they can do it, that this is a change that they can handle, that there may be big feelings that come along with changes for kids and for parents. But if we reassure them too much, or give them too many hugs and kisses, or come back, let me give you one more goodbye kiss, or whatever it is, you're sending the message that maybe they can't handle it. Or if you let them stay home, they may ask, well, I don't want to go to school today. Oh, well, you poor thing, you've had such a tough time transitioning to school, you can stay home. But again, when another difficult transition comes up later in life, they're going to have that sort of memory of like, okay, I guess I couldn't handle it, so I'm going to sort of avoid those big transitions. So we want to send the message that the kids can handle it, and parents, reassure yourselves that you can handle it too. You can handle these big changes, and that they're really actually important for a child's development and for your development as a parent.
Hang in there.
Yeah.
It looks like we have some interest in another session about sleep hygiene as well, so we will add that to our list of things to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have that right now.
You're not getting rid of me.
Anything else you want to say about transitions as we transition to closing up this session?
No, I think that's it. I think I hit all the highlights that I wanted to say, and I appreciate all the wonderful questions.
I am always floored by these sessions because I feel like parents don't get that handbook, right? And these sessions really do help with the topics that they want to hear. And some of the things you just said, I was like, oh my God, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So I really hope that they're helpful. And please email me at sblady@lcm.org if there was anything that Dr. Murphy mentioned that you want more information about. Or if you want a session like sleep hygiene. I will tell you that our session next time is going to be on neurodivergence and neurodiversity and inclusion with Bridget Hampstead from Fish in a Tree. So we're really excited about that. And that will be September 12th. So tune in September 12th. You can register tomorrow on our website. And thanks again for being here.
Well, you just reminded me of something that I meant to say, that, kids who have different abilities, like, ADHD, learning disorders, and autism spectrum disorder, for example, have even more trouble with transitions.
Right.
So we really want to think about that for them. And the other thing I want to say is when there's a big transition happening, like starting school or moving or something, it makes the little transitions harder too within the day. So if you're starting to see protest at bedtime and you never saw it before, it might be, think about what big transitions may be happening in the kid's life. That's it.
And we're happy to be part of your village. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.